If the Marlins went on a winning streak and nobody noticed, would it still count?
You are Locked On MLB, your daily MLB podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, baseball fans, and welcome to Locked On MLB, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. This is the daily podcast. We talk about all of Major League Baseball. I am your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully. Today's episode is brought to you by our good friends over at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off of your first purchase. Follow us at Locked On MLB Pods on Twitter, or whatever they're calling it these days, and on Instagram. I am your pal Sully. I'm at Sully Baseball Podcast on Instagram, but the best way to get a hold of me is right here on the YouTube page. And if you are going to be putting any sort of, message in any of the social medias, make sure that you can use that hashtag EverydaySully. EverydaySully. It helps us find your stuff. Okay, I'm recording this on the 3rd of July. I got a 4th of July episode coming up tomorrow, which is going to be basically a message for Major League Baseball about the role it could play in our country and making life a little better. I'm still setting up the new studio here, so it's going to look a little different next week. Just bear with me a little bit. But I know there's a lot of big games going on and a lot of big events are happening in baseball, but I did want to bring up the Miami Marlins for a couple reasons. First of all, I don't talk about them that often. And this is a show for all of Major League Baseball, all of Major League Baseball fans. And so I want to talk about, I try to hit as many teams as I possibly can. And the Marlins are, they're a team that obviously they were very bad last year. And they have some players that are probably going to bring some value to the free agent in the trade market, I meant to say. And with the trade deadline now less than a month away, a team like the Marlins are going to go out there into what is a seller's market and look to see what great young players they could get for some of their people, including Sandy Alcantara, who won the Cy Young Award a few years ago. But I want to bring up something. Less than a month ago, on June 11th, the Marlins had the second worst record in the National League. The only team the only two teams worse, then there were three teams worse than them in all of baseball. The Sacramento A's, who don't have a home ballpark or really a city name, the White Sox, who are coming off of the worst season in the history of baseball, and the Rockies, who are saying, hold my beer. And those were the only teams playing sub 400 baseball. They were a disaster. Since that date, the Miami Marlins have the second best record in the National League. Since June 11th, the only team in the National League who has played better than the Marlins are, say it with me, folks, the Dodgers. And the Marlins went on an 8-game winning streak. Did you know that? Seriously, did you know that? Honestly, did you know that? That the Marlins said, we're going to win more than a week of games in a row and have crept at least to the periphery of a wild card chase. They're about 6.5 games out right now as I record this, and they need a lot of teams to collapse in order for them to get a potential playoff spot. And so they are clearly going to be a team that is going to be selling. But we have seen over the last few years, right now, as I record this, they are 6.5 back. They are still a sub 500 team. They're still 7 games under 500 heading into the 4th of July. And there's right now a 3-way tie for the 3rd wild card spot. So it's a log jam. The Padres, San Francisco, and St. Louis are all tied right now. Cincinnati and Arizona are still ahead of Miami. But Miami is starting to show some life and starting to show that they have some decent players who can play some good ball. And good for manager Clayton McCullough for doing that. And they went through a horrible stretch between really mid-April through May where they just were dreadful. But you're starting to see Xavier Edwards, Jesus Sanchez, Augustin Ramirez being able to put up some good numbers. You saw that Perez, who has been he's 22 years old and coming off a bunch of injuries, pitched brilliantly today. You saw that Edward Cabrera has pitched well this year. And while Sandy Alcantara, who is probably the most likely to be traded away, is having an absolutely dreadful season, the Marlins are playing very well. And this could be the type of season that if they have a great second half, and we are in the second half, so they have a great July and a great August, and some of those other teams I mentioned collapse. We've seen teams like Arizona. We've seen teams like especially like Philadelphia in 2022, who are in terrible shape at this point around the trade deadline, or Atlanta, who had a losing record at this point in 2021 before they went on to win the World Series. And you saw the horrible start that the Washington Nationals got into in 2019, the year they went to the World Series. You've seen lots of National League teams take unlikely turns in the second half, and some of them went all the way to win the freaking World Series. And when you have a bunch of young players who are starting to click, and they've won 4 series in a row, this is exactly the type of team that you think like, oh, things could be interesting. And they are probably going to sell the team for parts. They're going to sell the players. They're going to sell off everyone for parts for the future. And what I want to bring up, and I've brought something like this up before, it is part of Major League Baseball's job and the commissioner's job to find ownership for teams like the Marlins because they had the opportunity to do something. And the fact that they're playing well now makes it really, really frustrating for me as a baseball fan because, well, they had a chance. Think about the last time the Marlins were a relevant playoff team. Do you remember when that was? Hey, do you know that feeling when you're logging in early and you're waiting forever to get concert tickets, hoping they go on sale, only to lose your spot for a show you've been dying to see? Live music should be about making memories, not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That's where Game Time comes in. You know about Game Time for buying your sports tickets, well, they're good for concerts as well. You can get killer deals, killer last-minute deals. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime. You can save up to 60% with some of the deals. And if you're tired of endless scrolling, trying to find the best deal, Game Time Zone Deals pick the best seat in your section for you. Post Malone was playing at the Oracle Stadium where the Giants play in San Francisco. Did I go to it? No. But I'm telling you, you could get great tickets if you use Game Time. And you have to worry about the seat because you got the panoramic seat view, so there are no surprises. With Game Time, the price you see is the price you pay and no hidden fees. If you're worried about what happens if plans change, the Game Time guarantee has your back with cancellation protection and more. Take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, the lowest prices. Do you know what they are? I'll tell you exactly what they are. They're guaranteed. I realized I had the wrong background there. Forgive me on that. Hey, about the Marlins and their relevance. Do you remember the last time they were a playoff team? You have to go all the way back to 2023. That's right. In the last 2 years, in a small sample size of 2 years, the Marlins have as many postseason appearances as the Mets, as the Yankees, more than the Cubs, more than the Red Sox. And yes, I know it's a little silly, and I'm kind of doing it to make a point. But the fact of the matter is, it wasn't that long ago that the Marlins were doing something right. They had Kim Ng in charge of the bus. Skip Schumacher was manager of the year. They had Luis Suarez getting some big hits. They had Mr. Luzardo was doing a good job pitching on that team. Braxton Garrett did a good job pitching that year. Tanner Scott was in their bullpen. And they came in and they got that final playoff spot. Now, it's trounced them in the wild card series, but that's not the point. This was a team, yes, they made the playoffs in the COVID year and upset the Cubs in the division or the wild card series of that year as well. Got to take the COVID year with a little bit of grain of salt because, well, it was a 60-game sample size, but they got into the playoffs the year before last. And with that, had a young team, a team that wasn't breaking the bank, a smart GM in Kim Ng, a manager of the year. And yes, they didn't have they had the worst attendance in the National League. Marlin fans have been burnt before. And now they had a playoff team. And what did they do? What did they do saying we have a young team, got its first taste of the postseason? What do we do? They broke it apart. They broke it apart. Told Kim Ng to kick rocks. Arise is gone. Tanner Scott's gone. Luzardo's gone. Now they're just another, they were rotten in the next year. Schumacher skedaddles. Now, I'm not saying that if they had kept all those players, they would be in charge, they'd be in contention. But do you what you should do? You should build upon things. When you have a young team, they came out of nowhere and won a playoff spot, and they did so with Sandy Alcantara not having a good year in 2023. He was a Cy Young Award winner the year before, but in 2023, he had a down year. He had some moments of greatness, to be sure, but it wasn't like Alcantara was mowing him down and being an ace that year. He had some decent splits here and there, but he was at a disappointing season. And so, Alcantara was a Cy Young winner the year before in his mid-20s. So if you go to the playoffs with your ace having a down year and some pieces in there that look like, okay, we could build ourselves a playoff team here. We did. They were a playoff team. And what happened? The party didn't even last a year. They didn't even go for it the next year. They immediately punted. And you wonder why they have that horrible attendance. It's not just because of the quality of the play on the field. You see Colorado draws decent crowds, even though they're one of the worst teams you'll ever see. It's because the fans of Miami are like, we're not a team. We're just an extended farm club. And you're going to see it again with the team playing out of its mind, winning series after series after series, 2 years removed from a playoff spot. And now Miami is going to be sellers. And this is one of the things, if we had a commissioner, what they should be doing. And I can't make it any clearer than this. They need to be recruiting billionaires. And apparently there are lots of them. They need to be recruiting billionaires who feel competitive, who would take this team and say, hey, we have a good young club. Let's build up. Let's take this as step one instead of step right up. They're all for sale. It's bad for baseball. And do you know what? It's mind-boggling that you can't make Miami a haven for stars. Baseball players want to live in Miami. They want to live in Florida. There are tax reasons. A lot of them many are from Florida. People with ties to the Northeast, to the South, to the Caribbean Latin culture all collides in Miami. It's a go-to place if you're a basketball player. It's a glamorous place, apparently, if you're a hockey player. But somehow it's a small market when it comes to baseball. Never made sense, nor will it ever. They had a decent team, a playoff team, 2 years ago. And now they have a team that is hitting its stride. And instead of there being any excitement for it, instead of there being any moments where you're like, hey, maybe we're going to see something good here. And even if they miss the playoffs, know that you're going to be building towards something in 2026. Nope. File that under nope. And I don't blame Marlin fans for not showing up. The team won a World Series in 1997, and the team was blown up during the parade, scattered across the winds. They win a World Series in 2003, and the sell-off wasn't quite as egregious, but Pudge Rodriguez was gone right after the World Series. And then within 2 years, everyone was gone. They put together the big thing for the stadium in 2012, brought in a bunch of stars, and before the season was over, ripped the team apart. I don't blame Marlin fans. There's a history of them being just absolutely clotheslined. And they did it again. And it's inexcusable. The Marlins should be a great story. A young team, not filled with stars, are winning a bunch of games and are clawing their way back, and who knows what will happen next year. We know what will happen next year. Anyone decent's going to be traded. It won't take much if you're a billionaire owner to win over Marlin fans. What do you have to do? Keep the players, win the games, and suddenly fans may show up. You can only abuse a fan base so long before they start saying, hey, maybe we shouldn't come here. By the way, speaking of abused fan bases in big market clubs, have you noticed that right now, again, we are 86 games into the season, and the Angels are even 500. They are even 500 right now. Here's the deal. They're 2 games out of a playoff spot. Just 2 games behind the Seattle Mariners. And it's not like the Seattle Mariners are a behemoth. They're 2 games back in both the win column, loss column, standings all together. And it's not like they've been playing unbelievable. They've won 6 of their last 10, which is fine. But they've climbed back into this. And the team with the longest playoff drought has an outside chance of getting in. And so you have Miami and you have not Los Angeles, but Orange County. These are 2 places that should be baseball havens. And at least the Angels are in a situation where they're going to clearly go for it. As for the Marlins, 8-game winning streak, putting together a nice run, leapfrogging the Braves, hoping that the Giants, Padres, Cardinals, and Diamondbacks all collapse. It's possible, but it doesn't matter because they're not a real organization. Just find a billionaire who will want to win. And, oh yeah, do it in Florida. Isn't that where all the billionaires live anyway? Get the supplies you need from the site that's made for skilled trades. Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, electrical work, Supply House is a reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from more than 400 top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. If you need help with an order, Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage, and now is your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Supplyhouse. By the way, the Toronto Blue Jays magic number is now 75. 75. That is what it is, because the Yankees lost all 4 games in the series that they just had in Toronto. So now their lead is evaporated. It's gone. And they're playing the Mets on the 4th of July, and the Mets are like salivating to face the Yankees. And here's something that could happen. Let's just say Marcus Stroman and his 8.16 ERA on a warm afternoon in Queens loses. Let's just say that happens. Let's just say the Rays top the Minnesota Twins, playing the Rays, who are 48-39, the Twins, who are sub 500. Let's say that also happens. Okay, those are 2 scenarios. There's one other thing. Let's say the Blue Jays take on those Angels, who have crawled back to 500, but let's just say Lauer, who's pitched pretty well for Toronto, wins that game. Those 3 things happen. Marcus Stroman gets lit up. The Rays beat the Twins, and the Angels lose in Toronto. If those 3 things happen, we'll get past the 4th of July, and the Yankees would be in 3rd place. 3rd. This is a very, very winnable American League East if you're a very, very good team. And the Tigers are looking more and more like the team right now. But let's not forget the Astros. The Astros have been on a nice little run as well, and basically saying, hey, if no one wants the West, we'll take it. Watch it be the Astros and Dodgers in that rematch of that series. But the Yankees, look, a lot has been said about them. They're still probably a playoff team, but they're not right now. We're past the halfway mark, and they're in 2nd place. And they could fall to 3rd, and the Rays could find themselves in a position where they could have home field advantage in the playoffs. We've got to figure out something there right now. But the Yankees just did not look – they're a dumb team right now. And I know some people disagree with me on this, but it looks like Schmidt is hurt, right? Clark Schmidt got hurt. And wasn't he lifted from a no-hitter a couple weeks ago because they don't want him to get hurt? Okay, well, he got hurt anyway. Might as well let him throw the no-hitter, or at least try. But I guess that I'm against something. I don't really know. But the Yankees are now a 2nd place team. And the Mets, who were on a horrible stretch, picked up a couple of wins against the Milwaukee Brewers. And so maybe they're dusting themselves off a little bit with their eye. They're only a game and a half out of 1st. And the Yankees are only a game out. So obviously the Yankees can go on a great run. And maybe this will be their wake-up call. Maybe this is their moment, like that 4-game sweep by the Toronto Blue Jays really, really woke us up. Is Marcus Stroman really the one who's going to do it? So we're going to see. We're absolutely going to see. But one of the points of this show that I did today was that, well, this might be the last time I talk about the Marlins on this show, or it may not be. I don't know. But it makes me sad. Miami should be a baseball haven. And the Marlins should be a young, exciting team and building up a good fan base in Miami. And they're not doing it. And it's all because of ownership. And if that's the problem, then get yourself a new owner and say, hey, billionaire, you will win over a city. You don't have to build a new stadium. And you don't have to leap over tall buildings to win over the fan base. You just have to spend enough money to have this team be halfway decent. And, oh, yeah, you get to live in Florida. So find that person and save this franchise. Because, quite frankly, it is getting kind of embarrassing. And I don't blame Marlin fans for not showing up. And the Marlin fans who do show up, let me tell you something. You're some of the best fans in all of baseball. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Thank you for making Locked On MLB your first listen today. For a second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night at Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Talking about the Marlins, who should be an exciting team, but they won't be because of their stupid ownership. This has been Locked On MLB. I'm your host, Paul Francis Sullivan. Please call me Sully.